Hello and welcome to this special training session of LoadTrek University, managing unassigned time and distance in your hours of service. Unassigned miles, unassigned distance, unassigned time has always been a big deal with electronic logging. It's certainly taken on additional importance with the ELD regulations. So today we are going to discuss finding the unassigned time and distance, determining who drove the truck, giving the driver the opportunity to correct his or her log in the truck. And if that doesn't work, if the driver is unable or unwilling to assign this time themselves, then doing it in the office. And then the last step is the driver validates and confirms that the log is true and correct. So this webinar is for safety professionals and supervisors who need to manage and assign unidentified periods of time in their LoadTrek system. So just as a little review, a little system overview, the LoadTrek system, the basic, the foundation of the LoadTrek system is good setup. Good setup with your drivers, your locations, your geofences, and your profiles. The next step in setting up your LoadTrek system is your sources of revenue, your loads, your jobs, and then assigning loads and jobs to the right drivers and the right equipment. Executing that work, executing the route, making sure that everything is going as planned, and then analyzing what just happened to see if we need to make changes. Hours of service is a part of the LoadTrek system. It's a very small part of the LoadTrek system, but it's a very important part of the LoadTrek system. So let's see what the driver's tasks are within LoadTrek. The driver, when he or she begins their shift, they start day. And when they press start day and sign in with their driver number and their driver passcode, it begins their hours of service time. When the wheels are not moving, when we have not begun a trip, it's on duty not driving. And when the wheels are moving, when we have begun a trip, which an ELD is with 0.5 of a mile, 5 miles an hour rather, then they are driving. When the vehicle stops and remains motionless for 5 minutes, we recognize that as a stop, and again, this is an ELD requirement. The driver is given an opportunity at the 5-minute mark to determine whether we are truly on duty not driving or driving. And our advice to drivers is real simple. If you're not stuck in traffic, if you're just at a normal stop, just leave the ELD alone, let it do its work. At the 6-minute mark, it will recognize this as a legitimate stop, go back in time to when the vehicle first stopped, and count it as on duty, not driving. If at any time during the day the driver needs to log off for sleep or on duty, they do that by changing status. And then at the end of the day, the driver performs their post-trip and ends their day and logs out of the truck. So the driver's task is fairly straightforward. Certainly you can reference driver training videos and the driver's manual for more information. The hours of service regulations that are covered are the Canadian Hours of Service, Public Safety Code 9, provincial, geographic, and vocational. The United States FMCSA Hours of Service, Part 395, intrastate and vocational. Different states have different regulations. And then the new Mexican Hours of Service. So in LoadTrek Hours of Service, you can have multiple companies. If you have 2 or 3 companies that a driver may be working for under the same umbrella, they can pick the appropriate company with the accompanying DOT number. You can have multiple profiles. If a driver operates a passenger carrying vehicle and a freight vehicle as a normal course of what they do, they can operate under different profiles based upon the situation. And these profiles are configurable. So if the hours of service rules change, we can easily change it. Personal conveyance is that special status that's always been there. But again, it's taken on new importance in ELD. Personal conveyance is when the driver uses the commercial motor vehicle for personal business. This is business that benefits the driver, does not benefit the company. Yard moves is a new status. Yard moves is when the vehicle exceeds 5 miles an hour, which is that trigger for driving, but is within a yard, a distribution center, a truck stop, and this allows the driver to exceed 5 miles an hour, yet remains on duty, not driving, to save drive time. And then lastly, and this is new in ELD as well, the driver validates his or her log at the end of every shift. So the first step is to find the unassigned driver's distance and time. The best way to find it is by using LoadTrek to manage your payroll. Likewise, a very, very good way to find this is to use LoadTrek to manage your customer billings. This will quickly and easily point you to loads that were tendered but appear to be uncovered because nobody picked them up. If a driver does not sign in his or her ELD, then this load appears to be uncovered. So find the unassigned driver's distance and time. Then determine who drove the vehicle. And again, payroll and billing are perfect places to do this. And then give the driver the opportunity to correct his or her log in the truck. And let's look at that real quick. This is a screenshot of the driver's app in the cab of the truck. Drivers always have the opportunity to assign any unassigned drive time to themselves. First, they can do this by accepting the suggested unassigned movement at sign-on. When a driver signs on, as soon as they sign on, they are given a menu of the previous movements of that truck with no driver assigned and ask the question if it is their time or not. If you slip seat trucks or run multiple shifts in trucks, the answer is probably no. That belongs to some other driver. If you're assigned to that truck, then the answer is probably yes. So the first opportunity is by accepting the unassigned movement at drive on, or at sign on rather. And you can do it anytime. The driver can just hit the alerts button and see the same thing. The second place to do this is the drivers can edit their own logs. And this is important because the FMCSA has shifted how they view an electronic log. It has always been the driver's log. For those 28 years that we had AOBRD, the FMCSA has accepted the fact that the drivers shouldn't, couldn't, and are probably technically unable to edit their own logs. It's up to the office. So it was understood that the office would edit the logs at the driver's direction. But now, with ELD, the driver is given the opportunity to edit their log, and in fact, it is the driver's log. It's not the office's log, not the manager's log, not the dispatcher's log. It is the driver's log and the driver's responsibility to complete the log. The company's, the carrier's responsibility is to make sure that the driver actually does their log and that it falls within guidelines, that is compliant, and that if corrective action is needed, it is taken. But it's the driver's log. So the driver is given the opportunity to edit their log. If they forget to sign on, they can easily do it by going to the graph grid, as you see here. And again, details for this are in the driver's manual. Going to the graph grid. When I double tap on the screen, I'm given a choice. Which status do I choose to go into? In this particular case, I'm going to pick off duty just to make it easy. Select off duty, and now I'm given the choice of when do I wish the off duty time to start. So I'm going to set 11:46. When do I wish the off duty time to end? Let's click there, and now I am given, as the driver, I'm given the choice. Here's what my log looked like before. Here's what my log looks like after. Is this good? If yes, continue. When you continue, the driver is asked to submit comments. These comments are in the permanent record. And now we have an edited log. So the driver always has the opportunity to edit their own log and should be given that opportunity to do it themselves. However, that doesn't always work. So the focus of this webinar is going to be on how to handle unassigned time and distance in the office. So starting from your LoadTrek dashboard, and again, your available options within LoadTrek that you're given the rights to are in the right. And the first way to see that we have unassigned distance and time, and this is how you can tell when it happens right away. You don't have to wait for payroll. You don't have to wait for billing. You can see as soon as it happens by clicking up here on the alerts button. And this brings up my alerts. These are alerts for you, the person who has signed in, not for anybody else in the company. When I select something on the left, that means the alert shows up in my dashboard. When I select the column on the right, in fact, let me do it right now. Now that I've selected the column on the right, that sends a text message to my mobile phone that I have set up for myself as a user in LoadTrek. I get a text message now every time a truck exceeds 5 miles an hour, begins driving without somebody logged in. And remember, you will get this at any hour of the day or night for every vehicle in your fleet. So be careful when you set it up. And also remember the driver. The driver gets this same alert. The ELD in the cab of the truck will also alert the driver when the vehicle starts moving and nobody's signed on. So here I've set myself up to receive both a dashboard alert and a text message alert anytime we have movement with no driver signed on. The second way of finding out unassigned time and distance is by looking at reports. And you can simply in the search box up here type in unassigned miles, which I've done, which takes me to a couple of reports. First, we're going to look at the unassigned miles summary report. Let's dial in the equipment group. This is our internal training database here at LoadTrek, so I'm going to use the demonstrators group. And I'm going to dial in a date range. Of the 3 vehicles assigned to this group, 2 of them have unassigned miles. In fact, 2 of them have significant unassigned miles. And for today, we're going to focus on truck 777. It drove a total of 253.7 miles during the time frame that I dialed in, and all of this, all 253.7 miles is unassigned. If I wish to look at just a specific vehicle, then I can select the unassigned miles report, dial in the truck number, and I can see the same information broken down by date and time. So I have determined by looking at my unassigned miles summary report that I have significant unassigned miles, unassigned distance in vehicle 777. So now let's look at our hours of service log. We have determined that driver Beal, driver 4777, was driving this vehicle. And as we look at driver 4777 for the specific date, you'll see that the time is all off duty. And this, of course, is what it will be. If a driver doesn't sign in, we don't know that you're working. And if we don't know you're working, you must be off duty. There are 2 ways to assign unassigned duty periods. Let me show you the first way. The first is to navigate to the driver that you wish to assign these periods of time to. We've already done that. Driver Beal for 929. Click Options, click Assign Periods. On the 29th, it gives me a list of every vehicle in the fleet that has unassigned distance, unassigned time. And this heavy black line here, this heavy black line, that's the period of time when the vehicle was moving and we had no assigned driver. So this is indeed the vehicle that I want. It just happens to be this is the only vehicle today to choose from. So I'm going to select this vehicle. And when I select this vehicle and go next, for this day that I have picked, the 29th. Here's my original log, here's my modified log. I haven't modified anything yet, but I am given the time of every driving segment and every not driving segment following that driving segment for the day. So check this out. As I start to click on these segments, I am building my log. Every movement of that vehicle during the day and the following on-duty, not driving period of time is displayed here. And as I select it, I am now building the log. I, of course, always have to enter a comment. And when I enter the comment, driver did not log on, I click finish. There's my log. Now, it's not perfect. You can clearly tell that we don't have any pre-trip time when the driver signed on, and the driver never signed off. We simply assigned the movement of that vehicle to the driver. So now you just edit the log as you would edit any log. Click on Options, double click over here in the white grid and insert a not driving period. I'm going to insert it at 7 o'clock. Driver did not log on. I click Add, and I've added that on-duty not driving time. That covers the driver's arrival to work, learning their dispatch, doing the pre-trip. And then likewise, I double click over here in the evening and off duty. So again, let me go back. The log looks like this. I have assigned the movement and the on-duty not driving periods after the movement to the driver. I now go to Options, double click here in the white area, insert my not driving duty status at 0700 with a comment, driver did not log on, add it. There's my log. Click over here, and at 1500, insert my off duty with the comment, driver did not log on nor log off, add, and I have my log. Again, when you're editing logs in the office, always make sure you do so at the direction of the driver. So the first way to assign time and distance to a driver is to do it from the driver's log to that driver. But there's a second mode that I'm going to show you right now, and that's called the vehicle mode. Look down here in the bottom left-hand corner. It shows driver mode, but when I click vehicle mode allows the assignment of unassigned duty periods from the perspective of the vehicle. So we did it from the perspective of the driver. Now, let's click here and do it from the perspective of the vehicle. Let's find our vehicle. So I'm going to choose vehicle 777, and all this time shaded in black is unassigned. Furthermore, if I look down here, these are all the places that that vehicle went. The location Beale, Globe Life Park here in Arlington, location Beale again, Love's Travel Stop in Burleson. So I can clearly see the vehicle was moving. When I click the pineapple up here, which the pineapple normally is my list of drivers, but check this out. Now I get the list of vehicles. This is the vehicle movement for that day. So I'm going to pick 777, as I had mentioned. Here's my list. And now as I pick, I'm going to click right here on this first drive segment. Now I'm given a list of drivers. Which driver do I wish to assign it to? I'm going to go driver Beale, 4777. And that's right, and assign it. It saves that drive period and the subsequent on-duty period. Do it again here. Who drove at that time? Again, driver Beale. This time, driver Beale. This time, again, driver Beale. And if I want to double check myself on the map, as with any log screen, unfold the map by clicking on the map icon. There's my route of travel. Looks perfect. Let's switch it back to driver mode by clicking down here. And I have the same log as I had before, but again, I need to click on Options and then click down here on my graph grid to insert at 7:01 my on-duty not driving period of time with my comment. There's my clock in, and let's do the same thing for the end of the day. Insert off-duty at 17:58, my off-duty period of time with the comment, driver did not log on nor log off. And I add it, and there's my edited log. So again, two ways of doing it, from the driver's perspective or from the vehicle perspective. Same thing applies if the driver forgot to sign off the night before. Again, the driver is on duty not driving in some truck, yet the driver climbed into another truck and is driving that truck. So we go to assigned periods. Here's our vehicles that have moved throughout the day, and again, any black lines are unassigned lines. So I'm going to select vehicle 4777. And again, I'm going to select, build my log. These are the periods of time that I know the driver drove the truck. Here's my comment, finish. Okay, it looks good. I still have to add, so click Option and Insert. A little bit of off-duty time here. And there. And now I have to insert off-duty time at the end of the day, because again, remember, this log came to us in the state where the driver never did log off from the night before. So we insert the time off, clock off duty at 1700, and there's my log. Once we have changed the log in the office, it now gets sent back out to the truck for validation and confirmation that the log is true and accurate. So again, if you're a safety supervisor or safety professional or dispatcher who manages, tracks, and assigns unidentified periods of time in your LoadTrek system, step one, find the unassigned time and distance. You can use a report. You can automate that report delivery on a subscription. You can use an alert. You can use payroll or billing to signify that periods of time work assignments have not been completed. Find the unassigned time and distance. Determine who drove the truck. Give the driver the opportunity to correct his or her log in the truck. And if that doesn't work, assign the time and distance to the driver in the office, and then the driver is given that log to validate and confirm that the log is true and accurate. Remember, of course, that if the driver rejects your log edit, then the log returns back to its original state. So if you have any questions on this, please contact us. You'll see our YouTube channel is youtube.com/LoadTrek101. Our Twitter is twitter.com/LoadTrek. Our LinkedIn page is right there. For general inquiries, info@loadtrek.net. For technical support, support@loadtrek.net. You can always reach us by phone, 877-226-0107. Thank you for joining us.